The definition of success for me is quite simple. It's the energy.
Kim Le Huy, General Director from DKSH. You're actually the first Vietnamese CEO having this position. Why do you think them pick you for this role?
What is the values I can create for me and for the business? The role is not defining me. I define the role.
Is this concept of localization also working for leadership style?
As the local leaders, to lead the countries, that way we need to ensure we translate it into the country language to the people where they start feeling the sense of belonging and how they can contribute into the overall picture.
Hello again from Ho Chi Minh City once again for this new edition of Doc and Talk interview series where we talk about leadership, management styles, a little bit about logistics and supply chain management, as we as Kühne Logistics University, KLU, obviously are having a specific interest in these areas. And today I am very happy to have with us Kim Le Huy, General Director from DKSH. Thank you for being with us. And Kim Le Huy, you are the General Director of DKSH. You're actually the first Vietnamese CEO having this position. Before DKSH, Swiss-based, Swiss headquartered company, always had international CEOs in this role. So you're the first Vietnamese. We're going to talk about that. Congratulations, because it was quite recently, I think, this nomination. So maybe in one word, DKSH, what are they? It's a B2B market expansion service provider. So essentially, well, you're going to explain it in a second yourself, but essentially there's foreign companies wanting to introduce their products into the Vietnamese market, and there there's DKSH coming in. You're helping them with logistics, supply chain management, general distribution, but also marketing, legal advice, and so on. Maybe a little bit of background of yourself. You studied telecommunications engineering. You did an MBA, and before joining DKSH Vietnam, you spent kind of 15 years with Procter & Gamble, fast-moving consumer goods. And maybe just to give our audience a little bit of background about DKSH, 30,000 employees worldwide, and in Vietnam, 6,000 employees approximately. So these are your employees as CEO, Director General of DKSH Vietnam. Thank you very much having accepted to do this interview with me. And first question, well, maybe in your own words, explain what DKSH is doing.
So first of all, I really appreciate your invitation, and it's a great chance for me to interact with more students and people who really interest in management as well as, I think, logistic part. DKSH, as you mentioned, is a market expansion service company. To understand it simply, is a distributor, but we are on the world-class distributor. So we are not just providing the services of doing the distribution, but we provide the end-to-end services of bringing the products from the manufacturers to more places, to more consumers across the countries we are operating with. So that, and long story short, the company has been established in almost 160 years. And it's a Swiss-based company, but majority of the business is in Asia, especially Southeast Asia. So that's where the uniqueness, the level of insights we already have with the market, and that brings the competitive advantage to us. And I think we are quite proud of being like the top market expansion service company globally.
Can you share some of the of your clients? Like, are there any brands we would know just to get a better understanding of what you're doing?
Yeah, so let's say for Vietnam, basically DKSH globally, we have 4 business units. We have the healthcare distribution, we have consumer goods distribution, performance materials distribution, and also the IT. So in Vietnam, we have that own 4 business unit. Healthcare, we are one of the most well-known distributor in Vietnam with multiple brands. You know, if you look at the back of any medicine or every OTC products, drugs, pharma products, you see DKSH majority of the name there. Consumer goods, we are carrying 40 companies right now. Famous for the insecticide control. Let's say like the Fumacula is the Zumbo product, the number 1 brands in Vietnam. We have Sanofi, Sanofi baby care, Sanofi lactasis, feminine care, also the leading brands in feminine care and baby care. Some international company like Unilever, Nestle, they also give us a part of their business. Nestle KitKat is fully distributed by DKSH. Unilever International also fully distributed by DKSH. SC Johnson, so that names like some of the big names that we are carrying. Also, a lot more companies are there. And of course, for us, we really want to continue to bring more values. And of course, with that, we do expect that we can contribute back into the society with the talent development, with the more workforces we can bring back to Vietnam as well.
Well, thank you. I think this gives us a better insight of what DKSH does. And now, just briefly about logistics, supply chain management, distribution in its largest sense. What role do these areas play at DKSH?
This is super critical. That's our key competitive advantage. So our business is running through the benefit of scale. Vietnam has 63 provinces, and Vietnam is quite unique with the nature of more on the general trade business. So it's very different versus the other countries. So Vietnam, we continue to have general trade contribute around 65 to 70% of the business, 1.5 million stores out there. And having said that, logistics become the most critical area. If we have 2 parts, right? So one, I need to ensure that my product is well known, and then the shoppers or the retailers decide to purchase. But we cannot bring the products to the retailers, to the shoppers with the best and optimized cost. We'll never be able to success in this market. So I think that our key competitive advantage in this market.
Okay. So you say logistics, supply chain management, critical for your business. Now, at least in Europe, these areas are sometimes, the young ones, they do not really want to study logistics, supply. It doesn't sound attractive. It doesn't sound really sexy. So if you had to give an elevator pitch, 30 seconds to tell a young person, study logistics and supply chain management, what would you say?
I could say, some personal point of view, I think that's an amazing areas to get into. And to me, it's similar to commercial. Yeah, so I was rowing in Procter & Gamble, and during that time, the sales function was called customer business development. And the model that I really love on that customer business development is one pillar would be create demand. And the second pillar is optimize supply. And how can we create the customer business development? We align the strategy between these 2 pillars. So that shows how important and how exciting it is. And one of my areas when I joined DKSH, I really love about logistics, even when I work in commercial in P&G. And that gives me a certain good competitive advantage when I join this company.
So thank you for this advertising pitch for our program, because obviously we're having programs in supply chain management and logistics. Thanks for the sales pitch. Much appreciated. Another area which is very important in your business next to supply chain management is globalization. Essentially understanding the local market, well, in your case, the Vietnamese market, but from a global perspective, because products come from everywhere in the world. Do you have some examples, maybe also negative ones, where this globalization did not work out because companies did not understand the local market, Vietnam, and failed, maybe?
I think there are so many, and of course I cannot name a specific one.
Give us the funny ones.
I take my personal experience. I think 10 years ago, I was handling the role called route to market for Vietnam. And at that time, P&G was going after the strategy that we want to win everywhere people shop. So we want to win everywhere. So coverage expansion become like the critical elements for us to get to more stores, even rural, everywhere. And on this day, we cannot have that kind of technology like today. Google Map is not that popular. So one of my sales director at that time, he want to expand to, because now they just point at the provinces. They want to point at one province and say, hey, this is a big province. We only cover this area. I want to go there. From a Vietnamese, I know this is really a mountainous area and there's nothing there. But due to some certain kind of like methodology that the company is doing, they identify that area will have a lot of stores. So I just want, and they identify multiple places. So I just take one example and I bring on the whole team there. And that's really, really jungle. That's really, really nothing. There's 1-2 stores. But for a company to operate, we cannot like spend all the effort to get into that 1-2 stores. And for me, that's really triggering, because the thing is, it's not about the understanding, but it's about the insights. Because by the time you don't have something to fill with you, let's say you mentioned to me you come here for a third time, but then you start having some sense where's the district one. But we have 63 provinces, multiple, like 10,000 communes. Then if I talk about one name, basically it would be hard. And to me, that's the critical elements. Once you put your effort in something that not drive values, it becomes non-value added work. It costs you effort, it costs you time. And that, I think that the trap where I see multiple companies were getting to.
Okay. Yeah, I think it will take me a lot more time to get to know the 63 provinces. I'm already happy to get around District 1. You just said it, we as KLU, Kühne Logistics University, are entering, or the plan is to enter the Vietnamese higher education market. So this is essentially what your expertise, foreign German company, German higher education institution entering Vietnam. Do you have any tips and tricks for us, or things we should absolutely avoid when entering Vietnam as a German or European higher education institution?
Okay, so this is more my personal thought. The key is, I think, for Vietnamese, we talk about, I think we might talk about it later on the sense of culture. But the Vietnamese students are super smart. We were trained very strong in the IQ matters. We are super logical thinking, and then we are really have strong capability of problem solving. And also I realize the challenge sometimes is coming from we cannot frame the problem bigger. So the bigger the problem we frame, the better or the more productive we can work on. So having said that, I think this is more on, if one thing that I really want the student to be able to engage with is more on much more developed model. But how can they take that developed model and tailor fit and implement to the certain phases of Vietnam market development? Sometimes we get into the challenge that we set a very big picture. However, the market is still not there.
Okay. So you're saying essentially the Vietnamese would look at the big picture and would have a little bit more difficulties in getting into the details?
It's reverse.
It's reverse. Okay.
It's reverse.
So detail focus, and we need to provide them with the big picture to, okay, good advice. Thanks for that. We want to talk about culture. So let's talk a little bit about culture and intercultural leadership. Swiss-based company, you're in Vietnam. Is this concept of globalization also working for leadership style? I mean, do you have to adjust to the Swiss leadership style? And if yes, how do you do that?
There are some certain elements of culture there, but the good news for us is the company has been operating in Asia for 160 years. So having said that, they also have a certain understanding on how the cultures look like. Um, However, this is quite popular that normally like European Western country, especially Swiss, very productivity driven, and then straight to what they really want. So having said that, that the culture of direct to the point and the culture of like productivity driven. However, for the Asian, basically we need a little bit more on giving the why, giving the certain care, giving a certain like human touch versus a very straight mindset or like a straight way of working or thinking. So this is where, as the local leaders, to lead the countries, that where we need to ensure we translate it into the country language to the people where they start feeling the sense of belonging and how they can contribute into the overall picture.
Okay. Would that also be kind of, if you had to describe Vietnamese culture to a European, would that be the characteristic you would provide?
I would say so. Number one is a high sense of pride. So we have very strong sense of pride, and Vietnamese are very open, but very competitive. So I think these are the three key elements where I see that if we work on the right path of the motivation, that bring a lot of values.
So competitive, proud, and open. Yeah, I can confirm that as much as I have seen so far from Vietnam. So now you're obviously an expert in Vietnamese culture, but how did you learn about all the other cultures? Because there's so many different cultures in the world, and there's so many different companies from different countries coming to you and say, okay, we want to have our products in Vietnam. So how do you learn about these different cultures where you probably never have been to the country, you never visited them, you just need to understand them very quickly?
So I think it coming from some certain phases. So when I start my career, I got the luck in working in Procter and Gamble, and then where I interact with multiple people, cultures, and then this is where I start get the sense on how they want, how they think, and when we engage, we talk. And then once we moving on, I think the learnings that I am a fan of the 7 habits for highly effective people. So there is a habit called seek first to understand, then to be understood. So that would be if I want to give an advice to the rest, that would be the key elements. So you want to learn about culture. Is the culture basically is some certain behaviors or the pattern of thinking. And if you want to learn about it, explore it and then try to understand deeply on the people we work with. And then once I'm moving on, of course, the company invests for the coach, and then also we have more interaction, some more case study that help us to understand more about the pattern of a certain culture. And when we get into it, we experience it, especially when we have some certain misunderstood or misunderstanding, some certain debate, that where we have more sense of the culture.
Very, very interesting. Very good advice. I did another podcast with Hainin Nguyen, the founder of the coffee house, and I talked with him about the coffee culture in Vietnam. Now, I read that you said once in an interview there is a very specific motorbike culture in Vietnam, and that this kind of changes everything in terms of distribution in comparison to other countries in the region. Can you explain the Vietnamese motorbike culture?
So that culture give us, I think, first of all, it is really a productivity culture so far. I spent like 2 years in Malaysia, and I just recall the time I want to buy a very small stuff, to go down to the apartment, take the car, drive there, get into the store, buy, purchase, go back home. It cost me 2 hours. For Vietnam, I just take my motorcycle, go to the store nearby. I got it in 10 minutes. And so far, with that kind of, I also talked to my management. By the time you still see the motorcycle there, then the GT market in Vietnam continued to grow. In 2014, 2015, during that time, the universe stores in Vietnam. So I talk about the groceries, the mom and pop stores. There are 550,000 stores. Okay, and then at that time, everyone said the general trade market will die, and it will be replaced by the modern trade. Today, we have 700,000 stores. So having said that, it continued to grow in the different, in the developed model. And frankly speaking, this is where the logistic, the supply chain, the effectiveness of logistic supply chain come into the very, very big role.
So La Bubu doll, that's another thing. This thing follows me now for a whole week, because our campus director, Southeast Asia, he said it's a trend. So he forces me to take pictures with La Bubu doll, like whenever there is some pictures. So can you explain this phenomena to me, maybe to our audience also in Europe, because then nobody knows La Bubu doll. Please, you're as a Vietnamese expert, culture expert, explain La Bubu doll, and afterwards we certainly have to take a picture together with La Bubu doll.
So basically, I got to know about the La Bubu doll, and of course I'm not the target.
The target, yeah.
But the thing is, I think this is come back to the elements I mentioned to you about the openness of Vietnamese. And that brings Vietnam to be one of very attractive market. It's not just La Bubu, I think before and currently there are a lot of trends that are a product of marketing, of course. However, on that sense, you see that the consumers, the shoppers are very quickly engaged into the trend. Of course, each of the target shoppers, they will have some certain trend to follow, but that's a level of openness. And then if you bring some new ideas, you bring some new products, you bring some new solutions to the market, the consumers are open.
So I'm already curious what the next trend will be when I come back to Ho Chi Minh in a couple of months. And what my campus director has in petto for me. Then I'm already a little bit scared, actually. Well, before I said you are the first Vietnamese CEO getting into this position of general director of DKSH. Before they always took international CEOs for this role. Why do you think they took you? What's your traits, personality traits, professional things that made them pick you for this role?
I think the demands of the company are always there. They really want to get the local leaders to lead the country. Of course, cost effectiveness and also the level of understanding, because I grew up in this country, I know how the people are thinking, and of course from that basically is a certain requirement for me to make a better decision for the consumers in the market, right? But on the other hand, take back and I just reflect back in the past when I drove for that 20 years and realized there are a couple of things in which it helped me to be more competitive in the role. So number one, I think I do look forward. We have better sense of purpose. I have the better sense of purpose for myself and for the organization I work with. And it cannot be developed in one day. So just make a simple example. Let's say when we get into a role, get into a job, we start thinking, how can I deliver the KPI? I think in my past, many roles assignments, I never step into the role like that. I step into the role on what is the values I can create for me and for the business with that role. The role is not defining me. I define the role. So that and it brings me into the certain competitive advantage on having a bigger pictures. By the time the company give a general director role or CEO roles, they really want to look for a plan 3 years, 5 years later. They will not talk to you on a monthly, how are you delivering the month. And second thing is
to be able to see the bigger picture. What you said before is a little bit the weakness maybe of the Vietnamese. Too detailed, too much on the details. So you
So
got
I
into
think
that.
that the elements, and also that pictures is need to be created in the thing that you believe you can make it. It's not just creating the picture for the sake of having a picture, but it's coming from the belief that we can do it. And then it bring into the elements where I'm the one who go after what I want to do. So sometimes when I think especially in the corporate world, when we talk about the job, the role, then we translate it into a smaller meaning. Like, hey, I come into I just do the job, I get a salary. But if we can think about some certain initiatives that can bring more values to the people, to the community, and to the organization, to the business, then this is where we can think big, and once we go after it, that gives us a sense of achievement. It's not just about some certain promotion, it's not just about some certain salary, money, but it's really something that you think about the values we can create, and that values can be something last longer. And I think these two elements were helping me in growing up. Of course, during the I think when I at the middle management, I do get that kind of feedback from peers and then others, because when you are doing that, I don't think it's appropriate. Once everyone tell you it's not the right thing, or I don't say it's the right thing, but you should not do it, you should not do that, but you believe you can do it that way.
Okay. Would that also be kind of your or part of your definition of success?
I think the definition of success for me is quite simple. It's the energy. It's really the energy of you, the energy of the organization, the energy of the ecosystem that you are creating around.
And is that also like your leadership style? Is that, if you had to describe your leadership style, going into the company with lots of energy, empowering everybody? Yeah,
so that would be my style, and I think it is more on the I am a energy creator. I recall my very first day in the company, and keep telling that story. My very first day I come to DKSH. The very first day in the afternoon I come, I talk to most senior management there. I say, "Is this a company? That looks so boring. Everyone look at their laptop doing stuff. It's not a company." That way I talk. And today, if I look at what I have bring back to the organization, if you get into the office right now, people bring fish, they have trees, and the whole office with a big, vibrant atmosphere. And I think this is where the values I'm bringing to the organization.
So you're also in the morning, you're already full of energy?
Morning to the night.
So you're killing like some people not being morning people. So with your
not
they hate
really
you.
killing, but
you would kill
pressure.
me, I think. Okay, but okay, but okay, that's great to have somebody with lots of energy. Do you think you have also some weakness or what would your employees say, your team? Wow, if you could improve that, or this is something, too much energy maybe?
Of course. And I think what I learned from my one of the GM I used to work in the past, he said, normally when we come for like a one-on-one, we ask what is my strengths, how do you see, and then also we ask what would be my weakness, right? So that always, and we expect to hear more on the weakness side. Yeah. And then I learned it from him that, hey, the biggest strength you have is actually your weakness. Everything have a flip side, and I see it the same. And now on the daily basis, full energy, big can do, but of course that bring a invisible pressure to the people I work with. So when I get into, let's say, business conversation, and then your top guys have no fear, but I have fear. So how can I bridge it? Could be the part.
And knowing this, like at the same time, strength and weakness, would you adapt your energy level to specific persons? Like, very introvert persons, you're draining their energy. They're probably going tired home whenever they have a meeting with you. Are you adapting your...
I don't think I adapt my energy, but I adapt my design of the organization. So I'm not the only one who work on it, right? So I have my leadership team, and my leadership team also have diverse background, diverse capability, diverse experience. So I want to create a whole ecosystem. But it's just like, because I am more at the core of it, right? So that energy should not be low.
When you hire people as your direct reports, you only hire then, what is it, like also high energy level persons you hire for your direct team, or would you accept also like low energy, like only high energy?
I accept all. Yeah, I accept all. One of the learnings, so we talk much about diversity and inclusion, right? So one style cannot fit all. So it's a collectively leadership team. So I also do it myself on choosing the right set of people to compensate for the strength or the opportunities of the others. So that way I think this helped me to progress.
Okay, and you knew that from the beginning onwards, when you had your first leadership roles, you knew that, or you had to learn that and you developed into that?
I think I learned and developed through it. So when I was at the middle manager, the tendency of being self-achievement is much bigger versus today. By the time I get into that moment where the win is not like a Superman winning, but it's really a team or the organization. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the values that the whole team is creating is more important to me, because that lasts longer.
So the team is important to you, teamwork is important, value creation. Another area which is extremely important to you, at least that's what I read in the media, is sustainability. So you're a big proponent of sustainable development, sustainable lifestyle. Where does that come from? Why?
It's a global initiative. Now everyone talking about sustainability.
Yeah, okay, but talking is different than doing, right?
And then, even on that sustainability, it's not limited into the environment. Now we have ESG, we have, and also each of the company will have their own framework of sustainability. It's a requirement for business. So first, it's like a license to operate. If you cannot go with sustainability, then the clients I work with, like Nestle, like big company, they are all go after the sustainability. And for their business partner, we are not going after sustainability, is also not sufficient. But on the other hand, I think sustainability gives the people a sense of contributing back into the community. And I think that's where each of us, and now the level of seeing sustainability in Vietnam, I do see is getting much better versus before.
Okay, and do you see a difference between the discussions on sustainability in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, in comparison to Europe? Are there differences in?
I think the level of focus are differences. Still, the European people are paying to the sustainability, I think, more with heart. And for the Asia Pacific, Asia in general, I talk, there's some certain choices. So let's say if I like it, then I go with it, and I do it myself versus I also engage others to work to do it with me. And I think this is where in the European, I see that more obvious, and the people really want to make a real difference in the sustainability.
Not all, some.
Especially to the elements of environment protection.
Yes, not all. So, no, but and do you see? I mean, is there a difference? Because in Europe, is much difference between the younger generations, much more into sustainability than maybe the older generations. Is that the same in Vietnam?
Yeah, it's the same. Quite the same.
Okay. Yeah, talking about young generations, I know that you're acting quite often, regularly at least, as a mentor. So, as a mentor to an aspiring young leaders, what's your philosophy of mentorship?
My simple philosophy is giving the perspective and help them to find their own moment. My belief in the development is we get to know more. So we learn, we grow along the way. But the thing that we help us to accelerate is a moment. It's not really a journey. It's a journey of exploring. But there would be a certain moment where you say, if I do this, this really make a difference. And only the person who can get it, not everyone to tell them to what to get. So as a mentor, what I'm trying to do is I have experience, I have my journey, and then I use my experience, my journey to give them an open perspective, give them different perspective from what they think for them, and I hope they can find their own moment to accelerate. I have couples, I have multiples, and I think each of the moment give me, and when I reflect, so just one moment, I think it's really changed me. So in the past, when I was working, I think first 5 to 7 years, I was really competitive. And every time I just look at, hey, how can I promote as fast as I can? How can I promote as fast as I can?
Well, you did a good job on that.
And actually, I become a victim for that because I have no joy. I get more competitive. I look everyone like my enemies, especially when I grow up in P&G. It's a promote from within company. So we don't recruit the people from outside. So having said that, my colleague girls are also my competitors, right? So when I get into it, and then they're it's like piling up the fire, and of course it helps you in one side, but it's not helping you in the long run because you cannot go every day with that kind of level of competitiveness. And once you cannot get your outcome, or during the time I cannot get my promotion as I expect, it's really a painful period. I got one moment for it's a long story, but at that moment when I start realizing that I need to enjoy my journey, and I seriously that I need to enjoy my journey. Even at the time you get to one role, getting like one achievement, it will pass in just 1 2 weeks after it become normal. Then that journey is critical. Until that time, I think it helped me to accelerate so fast until now. Even sometimes I look back, I didn't know so how that moment can come to me, and whether it's uh, a good moment or not so good moment, we don't know. We don't know what we see until we get it, right? So in overall, that where I want to get my students, even my of course my employees, to find their own moment.
Okay, but yes, sometimes it's difficult to know the balance in being too competitive and not enough competitive. So, to one of your young potential future leaders you're mentoring, how would you tell them? Okay, what's the right level of competitiveness?
Competitiveness. If we translate I translate it more on for short-term goal. Then you compete to get something. Let's say you get into the match, you compete to win the match. Maybe you get into a league. It's really a journey. So the winning spirit needs to be there. However, you need to enjoy each and every single match that you play, right? You can win, you can lose, but the more you manage your train up. And I think the second piece would be critical is your own purpose. Can you create your own purpose? What would be your motivation, your inner motivation, helps you move forward? I don't think it can be salary, it can be something like this, like that, but a definition that each and every individual to set for them.
What's your next next goal? Do you have a further goal, or you're saying, I'm happy now, I'm not that competitive anymore, whatever comes along? And
I think even that general director role is not really the role that I compete for. Seriously. So when I joined the company as general manager and I get into vice president, and now I take into a role, basically I really enjoy my journey there. And I love working with this organization with having so many people. We don't have any brands. Vietnam, I don't have an own brand. So the only access that I have is the people and a real meaning of people. So I think moving forward, I don't have a goal for a position, but I start generating more on the purpose that I want to contribute back to the society, especially with the students and the next generation.
well, we thank you very much for this interview. It was a pleasure. Thank you for you having listened, watched this podcast interview, and see you next time. Enjoy the day, enjoy the evening, wherever you are. And well, now I guess we need to take the picture with Labubu dog.